Reginald Walker, rwalk13 on Twitter, TV, radio analyst. Definitely follow him on Twitter. Good follow. I'm glad you mentioned the running backs because that position is both wide open and feels like it's defined, where you have Keyvone Lee, who finished the season as the lead back in the spring, looked like the lead back from what we saw, and I thought looked improved in the sense of he looked like a more fluid athlete, looked a little more well-rounded as a football player. But they have, as you just mentioned, a whole slew of backs. They bring in John Lovett. Is there a guy to you that you see as either a dark horse to break out and join Keyvone Lee in that rotation, or somebody that you think needs to step up and be in that rotation?
Look, I love Noah Cain as a ball carrier. He's got to be better as a pass protector.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was a freshman in there, that was one of the issues, right? Is I knew when they wanted to throw the football because Noah had to come off the field. And he's going to have to improve as a pass protector. I'm not talking about a pass catcher, as a pass protector, because at the end of the day, and any running back coach in all of football will tell you, if you can't pass protect, you can stand next to me. That's about all you can do. So those young guys, all of those guys, I think they're going to have to do a better job of pass protecting as a whole. But I think if Noah Cain gets that figured out, right, he's the bigger, at least physically looking and physically running back of
Yeah.
all those guys. If he can, get to that point to where he can help in that pass protection game in this offense, I think he's got a chance to be a special running back. Now, with that being said, what I saw from Lee and Holmes last year, I saw two guys that wanted it. I saw two guys that were ready to kind of turn the corner. They just had to continue to get opportunities. And you mentioned Lee and his improvement. I thought he improved very much as a pass protector throughout the season as well, and that's going to be important for all of those guys in that backfield. But keep your eye on Devyn Ford. I like his speed, his ability to turn the corner and get downhill, and seriously make big plays. But again, it's going to come down to if those guys give him a chance to fight his way on the field. But I love the running back room right now, and I think they've got a chance as a group to do something really, really big for the university. They've just got to be willing to understand one guy's not going to get 30 carries a night. It's going to
Right.
be by committee. And if they embrace that and they're willing to be the guy that's just willing to come in and make plays, I think they have a chance to have a really, really good year.
There's a couple of different ways I want to go with this, but it's super interesting. You bring up the some of the other guys with speed, Devyn Ford. I've done like multiple shows on how much I like Caziah Holmes with his size and speed combination. So I'll leave that one aside because people who watch the show already know how I feel about that, and
Yeah.
I don't want to turn into like the number one Caziah Holmes fan. The other part about that is Mike Yursich bringing in new offense with outside zone. James Franklin has never run outside zone. And we mentioned that we both cover a couple of different teams. I cover the 49ers for PFF on their social media channel. So I've done a lot of, watching and studying of the Kyle Shanahan offenses. I'm a big fan of that system. So I've been talking a lot about it this year as far as a big change for Penn State. Is it to you a big deal that they're going to be running a wide zone system? And if so, why? What does it do?
No, I don't think it's a huge deal, and the reason why I say that is because at this point, right, when you think about, I'm looking at this from an offensive line perspective. When you think about that group, most of these guys coming out of high school have run some semblance of whether it's inside zone or outside zone or a
Mhm.
combination of the two. And so I think as long as it's something that you can teach properly in that offensive line room, I think you're fine. I also think that a little bit of variance in the offense, a little bit of variance in what people are used to seeing from James Franklin in particular, right? His program and his offense,
Yeah.
because as we know, he came to the program as an offensive minded guy. Um, it helps, right, to vary it up a little bit. I think at the end of the day, when you look at whether it's Lee or Holmes or Kane, all these guys have different styles, but they've seen pretty much everything.
Right.
And so I think with that being said, I don't think it's as big a deal as some may think, as long as the offensive line can process the information the right way.
So it's much more about to you. It's much more about the offensive line so far than the backs. Does any back fit into that system, or does it favor guys with different skill sets over others?
I, I, I would. I would hesitate to say it favors anybody. But if memory serves, I want to say that Devyn Ford has seen this a little bit more from his
Okay.
high school days. I could be a little bit incorrect in that. But I think anytime you're talking outside more with a guy with a little bit more speed, and I'm not saying Holmes and Lee don't have speed. Noah Cain has great speed as well.
Hmm.
But Devyn Ford, I believe, I mean, at least when he's running, he looks the faster of the group.
Yeah.
And so
He's
if
got
you're
that
trying to get
sprinter stride, right?
right.
Yeah.
And so when you're talking about outside and trying to get to the edges, I think he's got that kind of ability to really help you out. So I would argue that maybe he's a slight favorite in that regard, but I would say that would be splitting hairs to even go that far.